Studios in Brea, California, here is the Doyledin podcast.
Welcome back to the Doyledin podcast. We're going to have a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about briefly about the U.S. title change for the women's division, as well as Night of Champions and last night's episode of Raw, which is going to be great. And I think you know more about the title change, the U.S. title change for the women's division than I do. So take it away.
Well, it's, not much to talk about. Just that they finally put a title on Julia, which I think is a good thing for the women's division. She was a hot commodity before she came over to WWE. There was a few promotions after her, and she decided to sign with WWE, which is, a good move for them and a good move for her, I believe, because I think she would have got lost elsewhere. And I'm glad they took the title off Zelina Vega because not a huge fan. She has these exorbitant costumes that she wears as she comes out, but after that, it's she's an okay wrestler and not great on the mic and not very exciting in the ring. So I'm glad they took the title off her. Now she can possibly go and learn a little more and maybe bring more of that attitude out. But I think this is important. The only reason I want to bring it up is because I think it's important because I think Julia, who definitely has way more charisma and way more stock, in my opinion, is going to carry this title and they're going to get some good storylines out of this moving forward. So that was a good title switch and a good way to really give the Saudi Arabia fans something on SmackDown and really get them warmed up for the next day, which was Night of Champions. And let's roll into Night of Champions.
Well, before we do, I don't have a VPN, so I didn't see SmackDown. And I know you're saying that it was in Saudi Arabia. Were the women also fully covered as well during this episode of SmackDown?
Yeah, okay. Same as Night of Champions.
Awesome. And before we started the show, I had no idea what you were talking about. You're like, the U.S. title change. I'm like, I didn't. All right, I didn't know the U.S. title changed. Then you're like, then the women's division. I was like, okay, but with who? You mentioned two names, Julia and Zelina Vega, and I was like, I don't know who they are, but I also don't watch SmackDown, so
that's all right.
Yeah,
it's all right. You're the play-by-play guy here.
Yeah, that's right. But I also just don't have a way to watch SmackDown, which I can't stand. But it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, so Night of Champions. I was watching this at work, and it was the most recent main event that let me rephrase what I just said. It was the main event that was able to catch every match of. I don't remember the last main event that I've watched where I was able to watch the whole thing from beginning to end. But this one was one that I was like, I got to watch it, especially for the show. And I got to support my boy CM Punk. And all in all, before we get into each match and, everything, I thought it was, I mean, it was whatever. Right when the event started, and it started with Cody and Orton, I was like, oh, so we're starting with this match? Okay. I was kind of taken back by it, and during the whole match, I was just like, okay, I kind of see why this is the first match if this is how it's going to go. But yeah, I mean, what are your general thoughts on Night of Champions?
Well, yeah, I mean, let's go match by match, right? I mean, the first match, I get you want to open hot, get that crowd going, However, you're in Saudi Arabia. You could put out Doink the Clown against Bastion Burger out there, and that crowd would go insane. I do agree with you. Once I saw how the match was going, okay, but at the same time, holy crap, this match was so disappointing to me. Well, first of all, we predicted every match correctly.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. We got the shorts to show it.
Yeah, and we have been predicting a lot of things I mean, almost everything.
Yeah, we'll save that for Raw when we talk about this past week's episode of Raw. But
Cody Rhodes, I've never been a fan of as a face. He is not a face. Should never be a face ever again, unless he's in a twilight of his career and he's ready to wind it down. He's a great heel. Loved him back in the day before he left WWE the first time as dashing Cody Rhodes, and he just plays it up really good. He's never sold me on being a face, and this match right here really summed it up for me as holy shit. If there's anybody that needs to turn heel right away, it's Cody Rhodes. I just thought the match overall was horrible in the aspect of I don't want to do this to this guy because he's my friend and he's my mentor and I've mentored him and all this emotional bullshit that you don't want to see in a wrestling match. And that's how the business is nowadays, which is just horrible, which explains a lot of the numbers are down overall. But it's not a way to sell a championship, because the King of the Ring crown is a championship. And they should have been, I want to be this King of the Ring more than you. I don't give a shit who you are. If you're my friend, if you're my brother, if you're my father, if you're my great uncle, I'm going to whoop your ass, and friendships are out the window. Make that crown mean something, and make it, when he won, it was just like, okay, he won a match against his buddy. Oh, and he's King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything for me. Didn't do it. There was no importance of the King of the Ring at all.
100%.
Again, I think it's more of a thing for Saudi Arabia because the royalty over there and having the king and all that jazz. And the King of the Ring itself has just lost any importance now. And they need to do something better next year.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This King of the Ring title is, I mean, it showed by the end of this match, nothing came of it. I was expecting, Cody to maybe like snatch it out of the person. I forgot who was the person giving it to him. What was their name?
It was Nick Aldis.
Okay. Yeah. So I was expecting Cody to snatch it out of his hand. It was like, I earned this. This is my crown. Own up to being the king of the ring. And after this match, and after what we saw of Cody accepting the crown and whatever, we will probably never ever see this crown ever again. We will never see, or we will never hear from Cody being King of the Ring. You have something to say?
Well, I hope you're wrong on that. I hope that Cody does turn heel like we had predicted, or I had predicted at least, and comes out with the crown, starts being an arrogant piece of trash. That's how he's going to get over as a heel. He has to be, he was my mentor. Randy Orton was my mentor. But obviously the student is now better than the teacher. And, I am the king. And he is just a pauper. Whatever it is, he needs to come out and just be a total dick about it.
I agree. But judging by how the match ended and his little spiel at the end, I don't think we're going to get that. I don't think, I feel like if we were going to get that, we would have gotten a little hint of it towards his little spiel at the end of the match.
Oh, I thought we got plenty of hints during the match itself.
Are you talking about just because Randy's back was injured the whole time, and Cody was kind of like targeting that the whole time? Right.
Okay. He didn't let up. He there was instances where, and that's what I was talking about earlier, is like the whole sentimental stuff and all. Like, yeah, he went in and he was being a little heelish here and there, and I think they're trying to feel that out. But Randy with the hesitance and all that, and there was some hesitance from Cody as well. He didn't go total, heel in this match. He did have some, compassion for Randy, which is just so ridiculous. Could you imagine in a I don't know, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, but it's still pro wrestling where you have guys against guys, alpha males against alpha males. You wouldn't see in a UFC fight where some guy is out there and he's about to do a roundhouse to the guy he trained with for 6 years, but now they're in a UFC fight. You got to hesitate with a kick to the head. No, he's going to fucking kick him in the head. He's going to get that win.
Yeah.
They take all reality out of the situation when they do this. And I know that, you're trying to play on emotions but it's not if it's done right, and it wasn't done right, it slowed the match down. It made it look so unimportant. It made everything just feel so like drawn out, and it's like, fuck, can you please give me a match that is psychology but pro wrestling and fast paced to the point where I'm not going to get bored and go, please end this thing. I'm not saying it has to be fast paced like a lucha libre match or some other kind of smaller, lighter guys where they're bouncing off the ropes and doing flips. I'm talking about you look at any match between Steve Austin and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and these two guys come from the tail end of that era where they should know better. And I don't care if anybody disagrees with me and if anybody doesn't like that, but at the end of the day, this was just taking a step backwards, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And just did nothing for either athlete and did nothing for any storyline unless they do follow through and make Cody a heel. But then, like you said, the interview at the end did not come across heelish. It came across as sentimental, crap that has no place in these kind of storylines. Everybody right now, aside from one or two guys on the roster, just seem like they're just emotional little guys who don't want to say the wrong thing when they're out there. It's like, what happened to these guys who you want to tune in and go, yeah, kick his ass, yeah, this guy's bad, yeah, this guy's whether he's a face or a heel, I want to see him go out there because I know some shit's gonna go down.
Yeah.
But now it's like, it's like the world turns. As the world turns, one of those soap operas was like, oh, what's he going to say this week about his buddy? It's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. It was the same. I feel like it was the same complaints we had when Cody beat Jey Uso on Raw, and it's just I thought that was going to be a red herring of like, okay, that's Cody Rhodes going into Night of Champions, and then Cody Rhodes wins Night of Champions, flips the script, and we didn't get any of that. We didn't get any of it. It was just kind of like,
I think it's coming. I just don't think they're executing it very well.
Okay.
I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Yet.
We'll have to go back and watch these certain little key moments as they flip the switch finally with Cody and be like, okay, go back and see like, all right, that now I understand. But again, like you said, I agree with you. I don't think they're executing it correctly as well.
Yeah. And then even with Cody's, interview at the end, you see in the background, Randy's kind of circling around on the ramp there. And then he finally figures out how to get backstage, I guess. I don't know what he was doing, but
it's because it hurt his back.
It was just weird. Yeah, but it was just so weird. It's like, what are you doing here,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're just at the point where they have such a great deal with Netflix and all that certain things they don't really pay attention to anymore. Or
well, this was on Peacock in the U.S.
No, I understand.
In the U.S. at least.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, yes, in Europe it was Netflix, but but if they pay attention less to certain things now, where it's more because TKO owns it. It's like, well, that's not so important. Let's just, we got the match in and we got the fans in, and that's all that matters. Like, I think we've lost some of the wrestling psychology and how to sell and how to, just continue to be a wrestling company and instead of just an entertainment company. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Move on to the next.
I agree.
I get heated.
No, get heated. That's what this show's about. Let the people know. Let them know. Let them know what our problems are. But yeah, that's kind of all we have to say about Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. There wasn't much to say because it's just kind of a whatever match. There wasn't really any good spots, Yeah,
it didn't feel like it was a King of the Ring finals match.
Yeah, agreed.
It didn't feel important.
Agreed.
It just felt like, these two buddies are having a fight and they're in this dilemma whether to hurt themselves or not, hurt each other or not, and that was it. It was more of a friendship thing than a King of the Ring championship, which is a big freaking deal. There's a lot of history behind the King of the Ring.
Yeah, agreed. Do you think Cody is going to play up being King of the Ring? Like, don't. I know we want it. We want that, but do you think that's what they'll do?
I don't know if they will, but I would. I would send him out there. Like I said, come out, talk about how great Randy is, but it's obvious at this point in time that he has surpassed the teacher, and Randy Orton is below his level. With all due respect, he's just, he's saying things that are just tongue in cheek, and it's left-handed, kind of, compliments, but it's just being that dick where people are starting to realize, oh, okay, this has changed him or what, and then he just finally, you know what, for weeks now, you people have been just not understanding where I'm coming from, but that's okay. I get it. I'm all the way up here. I'm a king. You guys are just peasants, He's got to play it up. He's got to play it up. And that's the problem when you have two faces in a finals like this, and the championship is a title like a king. That's such a heel thing for a dude, So
Agreed.
they put themselves in this quandary. They got to pull the trigger on Cody being a heel now, and I think it'll work. It'll be huge.
Yeah. After this match, I was like, well, I feel like people are too knowledgeable about heel and face. I feel like it's just like, oh, well, he's a heel. Of course he's not going to do this. Oh, he's a face. Of course he's not going to do this certain thing. I feel like they should just let the wrestler's gimmick just be the gimmick. Whether it's heel or face, leave it up to the fans to decide. Leave it up to, just let the wrestler do his gimmick. Let the wrestler go out there. And we're like, well, I don't know. I mean, he might be a face. He's doing face things, but also he's kind of beating up this face over here. And, it's like, I think those kind of, it needs to be kind of like an anti-hero kind of thing. Am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what they did with The Rock. That's what they did with Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Even the Vincent character. And that's what they used to do. And that's, again, what I'm saying is that they've gotten away from how wrestling actually works to this, we're going to push it this way and you're going to like it. And unless you go into X and cry about it, then we're not going to change anything. It's like, just go with it naturally. People are already booing Cody Rhodes. I don't know if you pay attention or not to the crowds. He's not getting the pops he used to get when he first came back. And for that first maybe 2 years.
The crowds I have to pay attention to are on SmackDown. He doesn't show up on Raw.
Yeah. You can watch clips on YouTube and WWE.com and all that stuff. But, I think it's time, and I think they will. And I think by SummerSlam, he'll be a heel.
Because SummerSlam, he's going up against Cena, right? For the second time?
Yep.
You think he'll win that belt?
I think that's that's probably where he cements it as a heel, is right there.
Okay.
Maybe The Rock comes down and helps him.
Ooh. Because he's got King of the Ring. He's kind of like, maybe he's. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I think it starts progressing as we go for the next couple of weeks. Like I said, very shallow little hints of being a heel here and there, not very much direct in your face. And by the end of SummerSlam, he's a heel. And Cena is then face for the last 3 months of his career.
All right, I can see it.
Possibly Cena face.
If he actually is retiring, who knows?
No, you're still holding on to that.
I'm still holding on to it. I don't think he's retiring. I think it's a ruse. I think it's just something for this heel persona. I think he'll make it to one last, because I feel like a lot of the fans backlash towards the way he got the title from Cody Rhodes, having Travis Scott come out. I feel like that kind of, I don't know. I feel like that kind of was like, yeah, you're right. That wasn't a good match for, because it was that Mania that happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you're right. Having Travis Scott involved and all that stuff, I understand. That's not like that kind of finale to his last WrestleMania. I don't feel like that's that is what should be his last Mania match. But what do I know? Like I feel like he'll do one more Mania match. I feel like he's got it. He's got to do one more Mania match.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where he came back in the calendar. What did he come back at the Royal Rumble, or did he? Where did he come back?
Let's look it up. So while I look it up,
While you're looking that up, I'll tell you my thought process. Because if he came back at the Royal Rumble, that's his last event, and he wins it, and then it's like, well, shit, I got at least one more match then because I won the Royal Rumble. Because now I'm going to Mania to face the champ. That could be the way to get you your extra fight at Mania, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So he came back to SmackDown one night before WrestleMania 41, because there was the match where Cody won a match or something, and Cena is still in the ring. The Rock is in the ring. And Cena is like, oh yeah, congratulations, Cody, hugs Cody, and then The Rock does the whole throat slit.
Right. Well, that was Mania, right? Well, anyway, don't mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Further the Rumble, that's how, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but let's move on to the rest of the Night of Champions card.
Yeah,
get past this.
Yeah, one lackluster match to the next. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. In a street fight. You liked it?
Loved it.
Oh, what pissed me off was the nobody went through the table. They set up the table, and they didn't bring anybody through the table.
Well, I think that is by design. For the audience that they're doing there, I was surprised that they had the brutality that they had, considering the history in that country and the treatment of women. So that what I saw in itself with the Singapore cane and everything was like, holy shit. I think some women in the audience were probably like, oh, this reminds me of growing up. But I mean, that's the way it was,
Yeah.
But
wearing a trash can and getting drop kicked.
Yeah. But I tell you, I'm a huge fan of Raquel Rodriguez. I think she's awesome.
She was great. She was great.
Yeah. And of course, Rhea Ripley's amazing, right? I thought the two of them did a great job, and we had some interference as well, right? From
Roxanne Perez.
Yeah, and she was a nice little addition in there, but that which furthers the storyline for Raw the next night, or 2 nights from there. But having Rhea go over, as we predicted, was the right call, and just builds her up even more so. But I love that she had this competition with Raquel Rodriguez, because Raquel's a tall girl as well. And she's well built as well, just like Rhea. So this was like, okay, this is going to be a really good match, and it was a really strong, competitive, brutal match. I thought they did great, and I thought this was a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it being in Saudi Arabia, they could have done a lot more. I'm sorry, my wording of that was terrible. I feel if it wasn't in Saudi Arabia, they could have done a lot more. And for what they did, I thought was pretty good. It's just, I was like, somebody's got to go through the table. Then Roxanne Perez comes out. I'm like, oh, she's got to go through the table, just because whatever. But no, they just use the table as a little platform to jump off of. It's like, well, you could have just done that on the top turnbuckle or the top ropes. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It made it look way more impressive. That was a crazy move, you know?
What was more impressive was how stable it was on there. I was like, I mean, I feel like watching Raquel Rodriguez, I feel like there was a moment where Raquel was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But it's like, all right, I got no choice. I have to do it. And like you could see the hesitation with her. And you're like, oh, yeah, I would be scared as well. Just the wobbliness of that table would would not make me want to do that. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the ref helped. I mean, he was kind of holding it in place as well.
Yes.
You know, but yeah, that kind of move is definitely dangerous. I mean, I remember when I was there, we had Kurt Angle and oh man, I forget who Kurt was working. It might have been Shane. It might have been Shane McMahon, and they had a spot where the table was up like that, and the two of them were standing on it, and there was going to be a flex off it, and that table almost slipped from the rope, and Mike Chioda, the ref, held it in place just in time. And you know, if that had a slip, and they were both probably landing very awkwardly, possibly on their heads. And
Mike the legend,
yeah, but it was great match. I mean, I thought it was really good. I thought it was probably the best or second best match on the whole night.
Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable as well. And I feel like the best matches of this event were non-title matches. and yeah, I agree. This match was fun. But I also thought it was just kind of like, I don't know. It was fun, but I was like, there's nothing that comes of this, in my opinion. There's nothing that, like, it just kind of resolves their beef, which is fine. It ends their storyline. That's it. You know? It's kind of just, all right, cool. That's it. On to the next. Where does Rhea and Raquel go from here? But yeah.
Well, we find out tomorrow night. Well, not tomorrow night, but the 2 nights on the Raw, which we'll talk about.
Yes, we will. But yeah, do you have anything else to say about the street fight?
No, it's great. I loved it.
Awesome. So the next match, which I think was the best match of the night, and you predicted it that it was going to be, and that is the Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross match. Just a regular wrestling match, Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. I thought it was great. I thought this was the best match of the event. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. It was really good. You know, great workers in there. They're both hungry. You know, Karrion especially because he's been trying to get his name out there and get more, you know, TV time and get more notice in WWE as far as a push goes. But yeah, these guys worked their asses off and did a great job. Hopefully they realize this and start pushing Karrion even more. But yeah, I thought it was a really well done match. Give this a 9 out of 10 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was great. I for one, before watching this, never really cared for Sami Zayn. But after watching this, I was like, I see the appeal. I see it. I want more Sami Zayn. You know, I see a title on him at some point. You know, you compared him to Mick Foley, which now after you said that, I was like, yeah, I completely agree after seeing him wrestle and, you know, just the look as well. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him, he's a scrappy dude who's great on the mic, knows how to work, but to look at him, you wouldn't think that he can go like he does, just like Mick Foley. And, you know, but then you see him work and you go, holy shit, you know, this guy can work with anybody and can really, you know, from the bottom of the card to the top of the card, he can be, you know, world champ. Will it last? Will it be one of those things? I think it'll be like Mick Foley, where it's okay. It's a for now thing, and it's not going to be a lengthy, you know, world title if he gets it. But it'll be something that will get over really well for, you know, the short term. But yeah, and then Karrion, I mean, I think he's got a great future ahead of him at WWE as long as they, you know, treat him right. And you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, great match overall. very happy with both of them. And you know, part of the thing is these guys were just having a match to have a match, right? There was no titles involved. There was no, like we said, you know, best matches didn't have titles. And that's what makes this match even better, is because you knew you were just getting a fight.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a win. Whereas with Cody and Randy, it's like, this is for King of the Ring. And when they start with this other stuff, it takes, you know, now they shouldn't have had them fight for King of the Ring. They should have had that match just to have that match, if that's the way it was going to be.
Agreed.
Because at the end of the day, they just didn't treat the crown like it was important. I don't want to go back. I don't want to keep going back and talking about that match, but
fuck it.
That's why this match I thought was so good, is because there was no title involved, and they just went at it and just, you know, I just got to get this win because, you know, Karrion wants to get higher on the card, and you know that Sammy's trying to prove himself that he is worthy of a championship. So
similar to the street fight we saw with Rhea and Raquel, you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, 100% agree. I think that's where wrestling matches excel for me, is when it's just there's nothing on the line. Just let them duke it out. Let's see what they can do. Let's see how crazy they can get. Let's see what awesome spots we're gonna get. And you know, what makes a match good is when you watch it, knowing what you know about pro wrestling, knowing that it's scripted, choreographed, whatever you want to call it. But it'll still make you have those reactions of, ooh, whoa, all right, awesome, cool. Yeah. You know, that's when you know a match is good. And I feel like I got that a lot from the Sami Zayn match and the Rhea Ripley match as well. So completely agree. So I think that's all we have to say about that match. If there's anything you want to add, please do.
No.
Well, before we go into the next one, where do you see Sammy and Karrion going from here? Do you think their storyline is over, or do you think they're going to keep going down that road of?
Well, we saw Raw, so we know it's not over.
Correct.
So I think it's definitely going down the road where these guys probably carried us through till SummerSlam somehow.
Okay. You think it'll also end with Sammy turning heel? Or maybe not turning heel and just being a anti-hero, which I think would do well with Sammy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I can see him being a heel. I think him being a heel would be good eventually. But I think, again, he's got to get that championship first. You know?
Yeah.
I think turning him heel now would make people lose interest in him as a performer. And if you put a title on him as a heel, it's kind of like, you know, but if you put right now, when he's a good guy, it's like, you want him to do well, you want him to get over, he's a little train that can, you know?
He's the underdog.
But if he's a heel, I don't want him to see it doing. I don't want it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that you let him somehow get the title here in the next, 6 to 8 months, one of the titles, and after he loses it, then maybe he turns heel somehow. Or
okay, I can see that.
But I was looking up real quick. I'm sorry to look down here, but going back to the matches that don't have championships that can be just so more valuable. You go back to WrestleMania 13, my favorite match of all time, which was Bret Hart and Steve Austin, right? No titles involved. This was just a straight up, I'm going to kick your ass match. And just to prove that the title match wasn't as important, I had to look it up because I forgot who was fighting for the heavyweight championship, and that was Taker and Sid. And I couldn't tell you, who won that match. I can now because I looked it up, but
yeah.
But it goes to show, that you got the right guys in the right spots, just duking it out like Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn did, and you have a barn burner, and that's more memorable than the rest of the card, which this blew away the Rhodes and Orton match by far.
100%. And I think that's a good thing to think about, and maybe ask the viewers who are watching. But what is like your favorite match of all time? Is it a title match? Is it not? Because my favorite match of all time, Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. We've covered it, WrestleMania 25. like that is my favorite match of all time. I can watch that match over and over and over and still just be in shock of like, this is insane. Maybe that's just nostalgia talking, as well as the being witness to the build up that was before that match. But yeah, I mean, as we're talking about it now, I feel like most of the matches that I would be like, that was a fantastic match, I really like that match, aren't title matches. They're just straight up regular dudes versus dudes or women versus women. You know,
I agree.
And yeah. And, you know, with that being said, Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa.
I mean, we call this one, right? This was easy, in my opinion. I mean, you know, taking the belt off Jacob is a good idea. Makes him chase that more. And when you have a face chasing a heel, you know, it's definitely, he gets over more because you want to see him win eventually, right? But having the belt on Solo, I think, is a good thing. It really puts him over as that cocky heel now, you know?
Yes. I feel like Solo, you know, leading up to this match, in some way, shape, or form, you know, I don't really watch SmackDown. I watch somewhat of the highlights, but I feel like a lot of people have had, you know, have been growing on Solo. They've been, you know, kind of being like, all right, maybe this, you know, maybe we were too harsh on this dude when he first showed up. But I mean, everything when he first showed up, and, you know, his gimmick after Roman Reigns left for a little bit, I feel like it was kind of, everything was against him to begin with. So, you know, say what you will about that, but also I feel like Solo has definitely earned this title at this point. He's definitely earned the right to have the title on him right now.
Sure.
And
yeah, I mean, he's carried the whole bloodline thing, absolutely, the whole bloodline storyline, and you know, introducing every other Samoan that comes in or part of the bloodline. You know, he's been bringing them in and being the main guy. So this is definitely a awesome, you know, and well deserved to put the title on him and make him run with it as a heel, get more heat. And so when he finally gets beaten, whoever beats him, whether it's Jacob Fatu or someone else, they're going to be over huge.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they may switch it to Jimmy Uso to give him a little bit of a rub, but I don't know.
I don't think you need to.
I agree. There's nothing there for me.
What I see is all the titles are going to be on Seth Rollins and his little gang of misfits at some point. I just see it. I just see at some point all those gang of misfits, they're gonna have the belt, every belt on them, just because.
Yeah, that's on Raw, so they'll have all the Raw belts, right? But these guys are on SmackDown.
Oh, so okay.
I think that Jimmy will have, and you know, I would love to see, and this is something that they've never done, but I would love to see Paul Heyman be on SmackDown, and he's got his own team on SmackDown, which is different than his team on Raw. And he's pulling the strings on both programs.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe he's a face on SmackDown. Because he's got the history with Solo and all the attacking with Solo, but then he's a heel on Raw, you know, and that could be an interesting dynamic. But
that would be cool.
I think that they might give Jimmy Uso a shot at the United States Championship. I don't think it's the right move, but I think they will do it. Just because he's kind of been in limbo and had nothing, where everybody else is getting something from the bloodline. So that's where I think they're going with that eventually.
Interesting. I feel like that's a lot of stuff that I'm missing out because I don't watch SmackDown.
Yeah,
but I don't really see much of Jimmy. So I don't know. Not
a lot to see. Yeah.
Fantastic. There's always got to be one better twin, I guess. But no, I've just never really seen much of Jimmy Uso other than when him and his brother were tag team were a tag team, the Usos. That was the only time I've really seen much of Jimmy. And that's it. He kind of just disappeared, and I haven't seen him since. But yeah, I don't know. I thought this match was pretty good. I thought this match was decent. It was a decent match. You had you had the interference with JC Mateo and Tonga Loa, which I had to look up. There's no way I'm going to remember that off the cuff. And then you had the WWE debut of correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm going to mispronounce this, of Hikulea.
Yeah, they call him something else. So
all right.
Yeah, Tonga or something like that. I don't know, but there's too many Tongas and Loas and everything else.
Yeah, Hakuna Matata. It's all yeah.
But again, here we go. And we were just talking about the oversaturation of I don't know what the end game is here with all these Samoan and family members, because once you have so many on the roster, I mean, that's all it becomes is a family fighting family every week, and it's kind of like, okay,
I don't know. I think they're going to build up to something with Rock and Roman. I mean, everybody says this every year. Every year, somebody's saying it. Rock and Roman is going to happen at WrestleMania or something. And then it just never happens. But I feel like Rock could have his own faction of Samoans, and then Roman could have his own faction of Samoans with the inclusion of Sami Zayn. Or something. I don't know. I feel like that's what they're building up towards, but I don't know. You're the writer, so you would know more than I do.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I just don't see it being very good.
Yeah.
It's been so long now since they've started this, and Rock's getting a lot of heat for his interactions and then disappearing again and stuff like that. So if he's coming back as a full-fledged heel, sure, maybe it'll work. But Roman's definitely got to be the top dog and got to be the face, and he's got to recruit
the big dog
and have his,
his yard.
But I mean, that's interesting, storyline if they can make it happen.
Yeah,
but
and make it good.
Nobody's getting younger, and The Rock is as busy as he is with movies and everything else. Can they actually make it work where he's going to actually show up and not have to miss the main event or the payoff? And who knows,
Yeah, I know this is a little off topic, but can you name like at least one movie with The Rock where you're like, okay, that was actually decent?
Yeah, he was wasn't he in The Other Guys?
Yeah, he was in there for like a brief second with Jason Statham, and they jump off the buildings. They're like, oh yeah, aim for the bushes, and they completely miss the bushes.
That's the only movie that I thought he was good in. I haven't seen all of his movies. I've seen parts and pieces and stuff like that. I've just never been sold on him. But
the movies I could think of, it's Tooth Fairy, Walking Tall, Standing Tall. I forgot what that movie's called.
Walking Tall. I like Walking Tall.
Yeah, that was
a remake. Still good.
Yeah, that was pretty decent. He was in that movie, The Red One. I haven't seen that yet. He was in Jungle Cruise. He was in he's in multiple Fast and Furious movies, but I've only seen Fast 5, which I just found out that Fast 5 was directed by the one of the directors of the first Saw movie. And I had no idea, but that was the only Fast 5 movie I've seen, and or the Fast and Furious movie I've seen, and that was a great movie. Just like Saw was. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're good at wrestling, Dwayne. Maybe stick to it, but that's not what makes the money. What makes the money are those movies.
They're paying him a lot of money to be in these movies.
Yeah, so
don't blame him.
Yeah,
don't blame him.
I 100% agree, but I like to see you with where you're good at. I don't know.
Hey, as much money as I'm making on this podcast, if they offered me a movie role tomorrow, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, well, what movie, like, what if they gave you a script and you're like, oh, this movie sucks, but they're like, we'll pay you a lot. Like, is there something where you're like, I can't do that. I'm not doing that movie.
No, I mean, I'd probably make a movie. I mean, how bad does it have to be? I mean, you look at some of these big time actors. They've made movies that they thought were going to be the shits, and they turned out to be cult classics.
Yeah. Even
know,
these small time actors. I mean, you go to these horror conventions nowadays, and you see all these actors. They're not in big movies or whatever, but they're in movies that are big towards these horror fans. You know, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. You have Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Reanimator. You know, Final Destination. You have Devin Sawa. You know, I'm naming a bunch of people. You're like, I don't know who the hell these guys are, but
oh,
but yeah, I mean, even still, as long as you got people who like those movies, who cares, you know? And you know, as long as you make the money, who cares?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just so many movies out there that you thought just were not going to be. Maybe some of the actors. I mean, some of the roles that even like Indiana Jones or you know, Back to the Future and stuff like that, where actors have passed up on these roles, and then it's like, oh shit, this was really good. This turned out to be a mega hit, you know?
Yeah. Matt Damon with Avatar. You
Yeah,
know,
never watched it, never seen it, so I don't know.
yeah. Anyways, back to wrestling. I don't want to talk about Avatar for the next 20 minutes. But yeah, so got a little off topic, but Jacob and Solo.
Good match.
Yeah, it was a decent match. Yeah, decent match.
You know, it helped that they changed the title, obviously, which we predicted. But if they hadn't have changed the title, we would have been like, okay, this didn't go anywhere. This didn't do anything for anybody. But they made the right move. They made the right call. Good job, WWE, and thanks for listening.
Yeah. They've been listening to our podcast, which I appreciate. But yeah. So next match, which is oddly enough the shortest match of the night for Night of Champions, was the Queen of the Ring, Jade Cargill versus Asuka. I love Jade Cargill's outfit. It was very reminiscent of Aurora Storm from X-Men. Looked like, you know, I thought it was fantastic. I was like, looks like Storm. I thought it was great. Asuka, I'm not really that big a fan of Asuka. And before Night of Champions, I was like, I don't care for this match. And after watching it, I will say, I didn't care for the match. Yeah, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I just hated that it was the second match of the night, to where I couldn't go and get snacks because all the other matches had already gone through.
You know, at least they tried to make the Queen title somewhat important here, and it makes sense. And we knew Jade would go over, and Asuka's already got the Intercontinental title, so you know you're not going to put that on her too and make her this mega heel, which you know people would have went bullshit. So it made sense what they did. But again, even with the hey, here's your crown, by the way, in the middle of the ring, and you know she gives a little speech, and it's kind of like, okay,
yeah.
So now what?
Yeah, two faces winning the crown, and nothing really comes of it.
But I'm okay with the when a female face wins it. It kind of okay because you're an elegant queen, and that's a nice title for a woman to have, and you can support that, you know. And that makes sense to anybody. I don't know, but it does to me. But I can, you know, oh, she's great, she's awesome. I want to applaud her, yeah. But as a guy, you're like, this guy's acting like a pompous dick. He thinks he's better than me, and he thinks he's better than everybody, you know. But and that's the psychology of it. But with her winning it, I would have made more of a big deal out of it, you know. And but again, maybe because of Saudi Arabia, you know, they can't, or they don't want to, or whatever it is. But you know, because they don't want to make it seem like, well, our queen or king is, you know, better than yours or whatever. I think it's just a weird concept to have it over there, but at the same time, not make it as important as it should be.
Agreed.
And
her spiel was just like, what is this PBS? Like, what? Like, I just remember watching it. I'm like, this is what your spiel is. It's just like, you know, follow your dreams, do your, you know, if you believe in something,
Saudi
believe in
Arabian women, because the women have been so oppressed for so long. So I'm sure that's what it was about. And
yeah.
but at the same time, it went over like a fucking fart in church. Just okay.
Yeah.
When the 95% of the audience is male, it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
know your role. I got bugs on me. Ugh.
Fan of the show.
Yeah, drop in. The perils of doing a show outdoors in summer.
Yeah. Plus, like I, when the show started, it was bright out, and now the darkness has just consumed you.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, the Queen of the Ring. I forgot to mention, the times of how long the other matches were, but don't really think it's that important. But went on for 8 minutes and 34 seconds. I don't know if that's counting the little spiel at the end or what, but yeah, that match went to Jade Cargill, our new Queen of the Ring, and I hope to just see more stuff from Jade Cargill. I hope we get to see, she's got the look, she's got the not to go off of Gunther, but she's got the prestige, and I just want to see more of her, and I hope that her in-ring skills begin to improve. And yeah, that's it. That's really all I got to say about that match.
I think her coming out this coming week with the crown and a heel destroying it works with her.
Yeah,
and the character, and it's really like, oh, you don't do that to a chick, you don't do that to a woman's crown, and that would really get people more irritated, because I don't see her wearing that, every week.
Yeah.
So I think that's just is what it is. Whatever.
Agreed. I agree. But yeah, and now on to the final match, the longest match of Night of Champions, the WWE title main event match: John Cena versus CM Punk. I really liked this match up until I didn't, which was the same text I sent you after I watched the match. The match, I think, was doing really well until it just became a little kid playing with his action figures towards the end.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let's pause real quick. Can you pause the recording real quick?
All right. So, yeah, the WWE title main event. What are your thoughts? I kind of just briefly gave mine, but what do you have to say about it?
I thought it was a good match. It was a good build up. I enjoyed the Punkonomics on SmackDown.
I saw highlights of that.
Very clever. You had Cena do the pipe bomb, his version of the pipe bomb the week before, and then Punk to come out and do the Punkonomics the next week, and then you roll into the match. And I thought it was a great match. I thought they did really well. It told a good story, and we knew that Cena would retain and not lose to Punk. Whoever's going to lose to this, it's not going to be yet. But yeah, overall, great match, solid match, and they did well.
Yeah, I agree. They did really good. Spots were nice. The tension was there. Everything about that match I thought was great. And then out comes Seth freaking Rollins with his little gang of misfits. And right when the music hit, I was just like, oh my god. Well, at first it was when the ref got knocked out. I was like, oh my lord, like the ref's knocked out. Okay, great. And then, all this stuff happens with Seth Rollins and his little gang of freaks, and I was just like, I don't care. I mean,
that's where it went off the rails for me.
Yeah.
Whoever's going to cash in Money in the Bank, you typically wait till the champion is down, the current champion is down, and the match is over, and somebody else who's trying to get the title is not in the ring. Because it didn't make any sense to me that here comes Seth Rollins while Punk is still fresh. I mean, he's not dead. He's not out. The match is not over. To come out now didn't make any sense to me. And that kind of killed the momentum of the match because it was a good match up until this point. It was really good until this point. And then it was just, here comes this too early, in my opinion. They could have got the same thing going if they had it done later in the match where Punk was down and outside the ring for some reason and, interject somebody else to make sure it doesn't happen. But it just didn't work for me. I got lost here and far, it ended up fine at the end, but it just didn't make sense for Rollins to come out there.
Yeah. And then we have Sami Zayn come out. We had Penta come out as well. And again, like I started, it just felt like a little kid playing with their action figures of like, all right, then Penta comes out and jumps Braun off the center stage and it does all this crap, and then Sami Zayn comes out and it's just like and I understand that it was for the Saudi Arabia crowd. It was for the crowd to get excited about, but I would have just wanted it to make sense a little bit of like just being like, what's all this about? And story wise, you have Penta, you have Sami Zayn coming out maybe to try and save wrestling, and help CM Punk get that title to save wrestling, but it's just wasn't kind of done in the way that I liked, I guess.
Yeah. I agree. I think that they're just trying to give these guys a push, and if they put them in these main events, they seem more important because now they're involved in a storyline that involves the Undisputed Championship, so that they are seen as main event talent then, But again, the execution on this, I could have done without. I just thought it was not a place for Rollins to come out and have the potential of cashing in with CM Punk still up. It didn't make any sense to me. It's like, what are you doing? And the match wasn't over. It's like it didn't make any sense because the ref was down. Even worse of a situation.
Yeah.
Now you got to bring out your own ref and make sure that I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it.
Agree. That was my first thought of like, why is he coming out when the ref's down? Who is he going to give the Money in the Bank to?
Right.
But yeah,
it's okay. It's all right. Again, the finish was what we expected, and the payoff, was there. So that leads into, Monday Night's Raw.
So Night of Champions done and over with. I do want to touch up on during Night of Champions. They did announce that the Royal Rumble was going to take place in Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's going to be kind of dumbed down, like we saw in Night of Champions, or do you think they're going to stick to their normal Royal Rumble shtick?
I didn't see that. Totally missed that. Was that the Royal Rumble or was it something else?
Royal Rumble's coming to Saudi Arabia next year. They announced it. I mean, fact check myself.
Oh man, I hope not.
Let me fact check it.
Yeah, please do.
Yep, the exact same spot where they had Night of Champions.
Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, it'll be a Royal Rumble. It'll be the same. It's probably the most popular event. I mean, obviously, WrestleMania sells out and is huge, right? Makes the most money. But as far as watching on, TV or streaming, I think Royal Rumble is one of the most popular events in all of wrestling. And it's mine. It's my favorite event ever. And as long as they do it right, I mean, it'll never change, but I don't think they'll change it just because it's in Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
I feel like the women's Royal Rumble would be very interesting because you're going to have everybody covered up, just like
Yeah,
they were
Well,
Night
they-
of Champions.
yeah,
I think
that's okay.
yeah, they'll have the costuming department work overtime for that event.
Yeah. Well,
But
interesting, but okay, that's
yeah.
what it is.
So why'd you say that you hope it's not in Saudi Arabia?
Only because for me, the Royal Rumble, it's just I want to watch it at 5 p.m. or whatever it is in the evening, and just enjoy an evening of the Royal Rumble. And it's fine if it's over there. I just think they do, as we've seen with this Night of Champions, they do tend to, let's see if we can make this crowd happy with this, instead of we need to further this in a manner that's going to be good for all of our audience, not just the crowd here in Saudi Arabia. And I feel like that's when they go over there that they're trying to placate to what the Saudis want. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that's how it feels. And I hope with the Royal Rumble, because it is my favorite event, that they don't do that, and they go just with good traditional, long-term storytelling Royal Rumble. And again, is it Cena? Is it Sami Zayn? Is it somebody that we feel deserves it, like Braun Breaker?
Yeah.
And not just, well, this will get a pop from the Saudi crowd, so let's put this guy over.
Yeah. I agree. I 100% agree. I hope they just do their normal Royal Rumble shtick, and they don't try to appease the Saudi crowd, just like you're saying. But yeah, I'm surprised you didn't see that during the event. But because that was the first when I saw it, I thought of you. I was like, I wonder what your thoughts on that is. But
so I didn't realize it was on as early as it was, and then Connor had a what do we have going on? I think Connor had a basketball game we had to go to, so I ended up watching some of it. Oh no, I was going golfing.
Oh, well, so there you go, doing a lot more important things.
But then later on, I came back to watch after the first match, and then I just fast forwarded through everything that wasn't an actual match, so that's how I missed it.
Gotcha. Understood. But yeah, and I think that's all we have to say about Night of Champions. And with Night of Champions, always comes before Raw, Monday Night Raw. And I thought this Raw was so much better than the previous Raw that we had talked about, that we had covered. I thought every complaint I had of the previous Raw was answered in this Raw. But I do have new complaints. Actually, a new complaint, and that is, it was the most difficult Raw to watch because I wasn't watching it live. I was watching the rerun on Netflix, and when I watched the previous Raw that we talked about on the channel, there was no ads running. But on this rerun of Raw, June 30th, there were ads running, and I didn't realize it until halfway through the program that I could skip through these ads. So if I could skip through these ads, why are these ads being shown to me without the skip ad thing that you have for like the same thing you have for a skip intro if you're watching a show on Netflix, or like a skip recap for whatever you're watching on Netflix? Why can't you have that little button that says skip ad, so I don't have to keep hitting the forward 10 seconds over and over and over when it's a 3-minute ad, a 2.5 minute ad, and not to mention these ads are running halfway through these matches, so it loses momentum of these matches.
Well, the reason they don't have that is because you watched the first half of Raw without realizing it. So you had to watch the commercials. So that's why they want you to watch the commercials.
I completely understand you want me to watch the commercials, but you're getting your promotion from your live viewers. You know, I go to Peacock, I watch SmackDown, I watch previous episodes of Raw, previous episodes of Nitro, whatever you call it. I don't get those ads. I watch previous episodes of Raw on Netflix. I don't get any ads. There's no reason. There's no reason to have all this, especially when I can already just skip through it. I could skip through these ads, and you have these ads run in the middle of these matches, of these great matches that we had on this episode of Raw, and some of the best matches I've seen in recent times of WWE, and yeah, that's just my little rant. Now I was so irritated that I just yeah. You could easily, like, when I watched the episode we talked about last time on the show of Raw, it would fade to black and then it would fade out. It would fade out to black. Continue with the match. Didn't do it. They could have done it with this episode, but they didn't. Maybe it wasn't edited in time or whatever. But yeah, that's just a minor complaint. I don't know. Maybe you can agree. Maybe you can disagree.
Sounds like a major complaint.
Yeah, I mean, I
you're really over this.
And another thing too is you show me these ads of Slim Jim, of Minute Maid, of Snickers, all these ads that are already being promoted to me in the ring, already being promoted to me during the regular program.
Well,
and it's like
they condition an audience, man. You just keep giving it to them. Keep giving it to them.
I guess, man. I guess, but yeah, I really love this episode of Raw when you talk about the aspects of WWE, but when it came to their promotioning and their advertisements, I was so irritated. Absolutely irritated.
Let's talk about the actual show.
Yes, let's please talk about it, so I could calm down a little bit.
Start off. What do you want to talk about, Cody?
So, I mean, the biggest thing that I think was that happened in this show was the tag team belts. We talked about last episode, importance of tag teams, the importance that it brings to WWE and pro wrestling as a whole. Yep. And this match was fantastic. I thought this match was phenomenal. On both parts, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods. They did fantastic during this match. And yeah, I mean, it was just a really, really good match. Everything I liked about tag team matches was in this match. And now Judgment Day has the tag team belts back again. And it's good to see that Judgment Day isn't just going to fade away. They're planning on having them stay around long term for now.
Right. Yeah. You got JD McDonough who's already proven himself to be a hell of a talent, and we've known Finn Balor for 10 years on the roster or whatever it is. And to have these two together who are both from my hometown and to have them in there as brothers from their own city that they both grew up in, and part of this Judgment Day, I think it's a huge deal and makes them seem more valid as a tag team, right? Because they have that history, and it's not like one's from Ireland and one's from Waukesha, Wisconsin, and they just mashed together,
Yeah,
they have that Irish brotherhood, and it makes sense, and that's a good way to put a tag team over, as we were discussing last week. What do these tag teams have in common to where they're going to seem more legitimate to get the titles over? And that's what they did here. Judgment Day, good little faction's been around for a while, and I love that they're putting the titles on these guys because now everybody in the faction has a title. So when Liv Morgan comes back, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, she's gonna be like, hey, you guys are all succeeding here, and is she getting pushed out? Is she going to be the big face when she comes back? But to stay on the tag teams, it was a great match. The New Day they're looking good, even though they lost the titles. They've come a long way as just the two of them as a tag team, and I think that they're going to continue to elevate themselves as a tag team. And I still think that somehow, some way, Big E is going to get involved with them, and maybe he can't wrestle, but be a manager or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think this opens up the door for that. But this, like you said, was a great match. All four tremendous workers, and they really did a great job of psychology in here. And Finn and JD got the big pops, and as soon as they won the belts, they were, man.
Yeah.
They were over. But they'll come out next week and be heels, and they'll get shit on again, so it's okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as Judgment Day is the topic of discussion right now. What do you think about the team as a whole? I mean, now that Liv Morgan is out with her little shoulder injury, you have was it Roxanne Perez, right? Roxanne Perez is now in the group, and she has the same belt that Liv had, right?
So she's now taking Liv's spot as a tag champ as long as they put the belts on the line in 2 weeks at Saturday Night's Main Event. And again, this is great, and they should have them win. And Roxanne, be like, see, I'm a good part of this group, and Raquel Rodriguez is like, okay, you've proven yourself, all right, So when Liv comes back and they've all got belts, like I said, and Liv doesn't have one because she's no longer now the tag champ with Raquel because now it's Roxanne.
But how do you think if that's gonna deal with Dominic's ordeal with him and Liv?
Proven himself to be a cheater before, so if
it's true,
he should go with Roxanne Perez. It should come out that he's been with Roxanne while Liv's been gone. What the fuck? This guy gets around, This is this is his character in WWE for the rest of his life. I don't give a shit. Face or heel, he is, because if you go back to the whole storyline where it's he says Eddie Guerrero's my dad, not Rey Mysterio. Well,
I lie, I cheat, I steal.
They call him Latino Heat. And he was always trying to schmooze like China or one of these other chicks. He's living up to his dad's character. And they gotta play it, man. They gotta let him find out that he was knocking around with Roxanne Perez while he was out. And guess who comes out and says to Liv Morgan, "It's okay, I got your back." Rhea Ripley, because she was in the same spot. And then you got Rhea and Liv and Roxanne.
Yes.
Because
you heard it here first. You heard it here first. That's good. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, of course it is. It came from your brain.
Very small.
But yeah, I mean, I think we just with that alone, I that's why I don't see the Judgment Day going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, she's going to be back at SummerSlam. I would imagine that time frame, maybe, Liv.
Yeah.
So there could be a point where she's, and I say come back then, actively come back then. She may come back sooner, and I think she should, to where they push her out. And then when she's ready to come back actively, she comes out and costs them the tag titles because she found out Roxanne's been with Dom. And
spicy.
Yeah.
And take that, Love Island. This is our soap opera.
Absolutely. And that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
So here we go. I'm figuring it out as we're talking here.
Yeah.
SummerSlam. Liv costs them the belt. Next Raw, they come out as Liv is saying why she did it because she found out that Roxanne and Dom were together. So here comes Roxanne out to get into it with Liv, but then here comes Raquel Rodriguez out to get in between, but then she turns on Liv because she just cost them the titles and she's worked so hard to get that title. And now we just saw the match between Rhea and Roxanne, or Rhea and
A lot of R's.
Raquel.
It's okay.
Yeah, Rhea and Raquel. Then here comes Rhea down to save Liv, and an unlikely combination of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan is bonded on Raw, and that leads to a tag team match maybe the next week or the next pay-per-view, whatever. I know it's called a PLE these days. I'll never call it PLE. I'm calling it.
I don't even know what PLE stands for. I don't even want to know. Like, it's pay-per-view. I don't care.
Something live event. I don't know, man.
Paper live. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. PLE. Give a shit.
Premium live event. That's what it is.
Oh.
But
all right, it's not premium if I have to watch fucking ads. Okay.
Well, you don't know PLE. That's on Raw. You got to watch that.
Oh yeah. I think You're
but
right.
Anyway,
you're right.
But that's the way I see that one going. That's how I see that storyline playing out. And I think Liv would be a great baby face for short term. She's just a great heel. That I don't see her being a baby face for too long.
Agreed.
But that's the way she should come back because she'll get all the pity in the world.
Yeah. Agreed. Just like Rhea did. When all that
absolutely.
Stuff happened.
Same thing.
So I don't really want to go in order because I feel like there's certain things
talk about whatever you want.
We liked about during Raw, but one thing I do want to highlight is the Io Sky challenging Rhea Ripley at Evolution. The new
Io Sky,
Io, whatever. But yeah, Evolution, it's a new event where
this is the second one, I think.
Okay, where where they highlight the women's division mostly, right? And
so notice we don't have just a men's pay-per-view at all. We have just women's pay-per-view and then a mixed pay-per-views the rest of them, but not just a man's pay-per-view. I don't think. But
we gotta win. We gotta win over the Saudi crowd even more. we gotta create a movement over there at some point. I guess.
Have Evolution in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, there you go. That would be awesome.
And that would not go over so well, I don't think.
No, nobody would show up.
You'd have a lot of the public showing up because it's the people running the country that don't want to relinquish the power to the people, But
okay, I gotta touch up on my Saudi Arabia politics.
I think the guys in the crowd would love to see the women's division wrestle in their usual outfits.
Yes,
but it's not allowed to by law. But
yeah, it's unfortunate.
But
anyway,
what
do you think of this? You think Rhea's going to win the belt? I see her winning the belt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't really care for Io Sky that much.
Yeah. I mean, she's great. I think she's a great talent, but
she's not good on the mic.
Well, it's kind of hard with that.
I 100% understand why she's not good on the mic, but because is she a heel?
No, they're both faces. That's another thing. It's like constant here with these constant face versus face match. It's just kind of like shit. Can't we just create a traditional wrestling storyline here with a heel who's a piece of trash? But it's. I think it's a good way to transition Rhea back to being champion. I don't see Io beating Rhea unless, again, somebody costs her, like Raquel Rodriguez cost her the match. I don't know. But, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Agreed. But yeah, I just wanted to touch up on that because it's, title match. But yeah, and it's also the first time I've ever heard about Evolution. I thought this was their first event, but yeah. And then we had Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria. We've been kind of seeing a little build up between them two. I think last week on Raw we saw a little thing. Was it last week on Raw?
Yeah, last few weeks.
Where she's kind of been interrupting Bayley's match. She interrupted Bayley's match for the Becky's belt.
Yeah.
And and this is kind of where we see where the story is headed towards a clearer picture, where it ends in a draw and they duke it out after the match. I thought this match was decent. I thought it was a decent match.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a decent match too. I think they're heading towards a triple threat at Evolution. I think that's just
with them two and Becky.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I don't see any other outcome here because you have Bailey and Lyra going at it weekly, so they're already planting the seed there for them. And I think Lyra's one that needs to turn heel. She's just not that great on the mic, and her body language is already kind of what I would expect from a heel. So I think that if she loses at Evolution, if they do go ahead with a triple threat, that she turns heel and joins Becky. And then you'll have the Irish contingent there with 2 tag teams.
There you go. That'll be great.
Yeah, but it's Irish. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of Irish people, Rusev and Sheamus.
Oh.
You texted
Rusev's Irish?
Yeah, Rusev is Irish. He just came out and identified as being Irish recently.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, you texted me during Raw while it was live, and you texted me that this match was great. I wasn't able to watch it. I saw who won, but I didn't. Right when I tuned into Raw, I just saw the finish, and I went back and watched it. Really good match. I agree with you. This match was phenomenal. Really, really good match with Rusev and Sheamus, two wrestlers that have history with them between themselves, and I mean, Sheamus is already in there doing what Sheamus does, and Rusev making his return. It just makes sense for Rusev to win this match and see where else he goes. And in all honesty, after this match, I could totally see Rusev taking the belt off Gunther at some point. But I feel like those are two different wrestlers that are on very two opposite paths. But I would just like to see a feud with Rusev and Gunther at some point. But yeah.
Yeah, no, this match was an instant classic for me. Oh man, I loved it. Loved everything about it. Loved how aggressive they both were. Loved the physicality of everything that they did. Sheamus just come on, bring it, and getting his ass whooped and still going after Rusev, and Rusev, holy shit, But even for me, a lost art is, and for a lot of guys, I guess from my generation, and especially in the business, lost art is of selling. But these guys did it so well. I mean, these guys they're a good throwback to the last generation of wrestlers. And again, the physicality just really put it over the edge for me, and how they sold it. And not just, I want to beat the shit out of you, but how the guy who's receiving the physicality sold it. And they both did it so well and so good. Big thing for me these days is, some guy will get hit, another guy's going to crawl up to the top rope, and he'll turn around and stand there and wait for him to jump off. It's like, no, you're not supposed to turn around until, the ref gives you a signal or he gives you a little, hey, but it's supposed to be turn around and then into the move. That's wrestling. That's proper. Nowadays it's sit there, turn around, wait for this guy, and then you're supposed to be surprised. It's like, holy shit, this is so obvious. It's so terrible.
Yeah, because most times when I see those wrestlers that just stand there and wait for the bump, I feel like, well, they're going to move out of the way, and then they end up not moving out of the way.
It's like, what the hell are you doing? This is so terrible.
Agreed.
And that just kills the whole vibe of the match and the whole vibe of the show, even, because now you're like, oh, what is this? It's like watching just bad daytime television, sometimes.
Yeah.
But this match had it all. This was just like, holy shit! I could watch this match every week. This was so good.
Yeah.
Put these guys back in there next week. But I don't see Rusev as a world champion, at least not yet. I see him more of going for the Intercontinental title or some other title, but not. I don't think he's at that world champion stage yet. I think eventually, if he turns face, he could go against the heel. But right now, he's a heel, and you got heel with the title. So where do you go from here? I think he's just going to steamroll through some competition for the next 4 or 5 months or so, and be one of those mid card to top level guys who is worth watching every week. And that's what they need to do. Back in the Attitude Era and early 2000s, you didn't have to have a title. You just knew that this guy's coming out. He's a badass. He's going to wrestle. I want to watch him. I want to watch his match. And I think they're doing that right with Rusev and of course Sheamus as well. The two badass dudes, and they put on a hell of a match. And I might actually go back and watch that one once we're done here tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't blame you. But yeah, fantastic match. And again, a non-title match. There it is.
That's it.
Yeah, but
nothing on the line. You can focus on just beating the shit out of each other and not have to worry about some crown or some belt or whatever it may be.
Yeah, agreed. And you talked about aggression at the beginning of our discussion about the Rusev and Sheamus match, and when you mentioned aggression, it made me think of when Gunther came out on this episode of Raw, talking about Gunther, or Gunther talking about Gunther talking about Goldberg, bashing Goldberg, and just doing what he basically did last week on Raw, and promo gets cut by Rollins coming out saying, hey, I only intervened with the match at Night of Champions with Punk and Cena because I will, as long as I'm with the company, Punk will never have the title on him. And they're still kind of dealing with that storyline between Rollins and Punk that they've been dealing with ever since Punk has returned to WWE. Right. And
love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I love having a wrestler just dislike a wrestler for the sake of disliking them, whether even if they're not having a one-to-one story with them, they're still going to be like, no, I like that dude sucks. I can't stand him. Everything like that. It's in my opinion, I think that's what you want from a heel, and especially when Punk is always going to be over with the crowd. Then Punk comes out, aggression towards Seth Rollins. No promo, no nothing, just straight runs to the ring, wants to throw down with Rollins, and Rollins, being the heel coward that he is, that Punk called him out that he was, goes to one of the crowd entrances and stands there staring at Punk. Out comes LA Knight eating popcorn, which I thought was great, just waiting for him to turn around. And again, no promo, just straight aggression. They duked it out backstage, and I loved it. I thought this was a good spot for Raw. And then another thing that I do want to talk about, because it's very relative towards what you have been crafting when it comes to theories. After the brawl with LA Knight Rollins backstage, Punk's in the ring, Gunther's in the ring, and Punk's walking past Gunther. Gunther, kind of grabs him by the arm, is like, hey, like, what the fuck, dude? And Punk pushes Gunther on the ground, and Gunther's looking at him like, dude, what the fuck? And I think Gunther sold that push like really well. I think he sold that push a lot better than most wrestlers sell in general. And you just see the look on Gunther's face of like, you did not just disrespect me like that. And to further back that theory of Gunther joining Rollins' crew, I think this is a perfect example of that coming at some point.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole setup there was beautiful, and like you said, Rollins does not want to see Punk win that championship no matter what, as long as he's in that company, right? That's what he said. So what better way is to have that title and that championship in their group, right? And it's under the disguise of, well, we're going to protect you, but in the end, it's really Rollins who's got his backstory of the Money in the Bank. But you have, like you said, when LA Knight was up there with Rollins and they're in the concourse. Can you hear the sirens? Sorry if you can't. But you had the whole brawl up in the concourse there in the arena. I think this is perfect because, like I said, at Saturday night's main event, you're going to have, Gunther turn and work with Rollins and his group, and then you'll have Goldberg and Punk and LA Knight and maybe Roman Reigns. I don't know. Maybe Randy Orton, maybe Drew McIntyre. I don't know. But a fourth guy leading up and have a big Survivor Series match. I know it's supposed to be Goldberg's going away thing and retirement match or whatever it may be.
Nobody cares. I don't think anybody cares.
And it hasn't been billed like it was Cena's, because obviously he's not on the same level as Cena. He was in the couple of years, but not the longevity that Cena has. So it's not that big of a deal. But if you put it to where, hey, you got taken out by a spear that could be better than yours, it's like, holy shit, I'm not done yet. Being Braun Breaker. And that could evolve into, Survivor Series, which I know is still, months away, but they could at least, maybe they'll bring it closer and do something there. But there's a way to get the Survivor Series with a 4-on-4 team there with what you have. But it's the only thing hindering that is time and being, still 3 months away, 4 months away. So, but yes, I'm fully sold on Gunther joining Rollins and his group, especially with now Punk wanting that title and shoving Gunther at the end of that. And it's like, all right, you've just crossed the line and
disrespected the ring general.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm still going with that.
Yeah.
Segment.
Like I said, just supports your theory even more. But yeah, so now saving the main event for last, we had the tag team match between Sami Zayn and Penta versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Now, before this match started, we get a little backstage promo with Braun and Bronson with Paul Heyman, where Bronson was talking to Paul Heyman of hey, like, where's Seth Rollins? Why isn't he here? He's like, well, he's on a plane, he's on a jet right now, coming up with Plan B. And Braun Breaker comes in and he's like, the only plan is me demolishing these wrestlers right now, and that's all I'm focused on. Hit my music, and then they come out. Perfect intro in my opinion. That is like, I feel like that just solidifies that Braun Breaker is gonna be like the next face of WWE. Is just that little tidbit, bringing that aggression, bringing that sense of aggression that we need in WWE right now. And this match, another good match, another good tag team match, no belt involved, like, again. And it was a very good match up until we had Jey Uso's music hit. I was like, man, I'm watching Raw. I'm not gonna hear Jey Uso's music for the first time in a Raw event, and then out comes Jey Uso to just kind of fend off the heels, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it was just, it's a way to keep those guys all in the main event kind of, situation there, and keep, you have Penta and Sammy get involved in the main event at Night of Champions. Now here they are in the main event with the main event guys, Jey Uso, and the main event faction, which is Paul Heyman's nameless faction. Have they even got a name for this group yet? I don't think so.
The Architects. I don't know.
Yeah.
The construction crew. We got the Architect. We got the demolition dude, Braun Breaker. We got, I don't know. What would be
Bulldozer.
Yeah, the bold. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have a name yet.
But yeah, so it's it was good little match, and I get why they brought the heels and the faces out there at the end to all start keep them in the same storyline and the same kind of premise together. But yeah, it's interesting. It seems like they're getting closer and closer to bringing somebody else into that faction, being Plan B, and I think maybe Seth Rollins caught a flight with Gunther to talk things over. I don't know, but
Plan B is Gunther. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
That's my opinion. But yeah, this was a decent ending to Raw.
Agreed.
Not as climactic as I would have liked, but it was still good. It was a solid show overall.
Yeah, 100%. I really enjoyed this episode of Raw, and I feel like everything that I complained about the previous episode about that week's Raw was just answered in this one, and we even see Penta on a tag team.
Yeah, there you go.
And I was like, they must be watching the show. I mean, them and two other people, but it was phenomenal for my complaints to be answered, and just kind of just like, I guess I just needed to wait have a little patience.
Well, I mean, what do you want to see next week? Just say it now, and we'll make sure that the creative gets it. And
I mean,
that's what they're supposed to do.
Like, more Judgment Day. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get more Judgment Day. We might see JD McDonough, Finn Balor defend the tag team belts against another tag team, or maybe not. We'll see Bayley's and Lyra Valkyria's storyline kind of ramp up, because I think they're probably going to be in a match at Evolution, and see more of Rusev, hopefully. And yeah, and also going back to LA Knight showing up, because LA Knight's typically on SmackDown, correct?
But I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of this shit. He's a SmackDown guy. He's a Raw guy. Just put him where you want to put him. I've never liked the whole, this guy's only on SmackDown, so you're only going to see him on SmackDown. Well, this guy's only on Raw. You're only going to see him on Raw. It's like, intertwine it, having LA Knight, because I believe LA Knight is a SmackDown guy. Having him show up promotes SmackDown, having, Raw guys on SmackDown promotes Raw. But I don't know. Maybe if they had more SmackDown guys show up on Raw, I'd be more inclined to figure out how to keep up to date with SmackDown.
Yeah, you got so many talents on the roster. You got to really kind of have a split show there. I totally get it. But yeah, it would be good to see every now and then some SmackDown guys come over and some Raw guys go over to SmackDown and kind of intertwine those storylines. But like I said, you could do something with Paul Heyman where he's got a team on each brand.
Agreed.
And he could borrow one from one, and if needed, and stuff like that. But yeah, it was good to see LA Knight. I think you're right. Now I'm thinking about it more. It's definitely a SmackDown guy. But yeah, this was a good, like I said, good segment. Good way to sign out the show and get the ball rolling here with Punk and Gunther and get him involved more with Rollins as well. And we'll see how long it takes now for that to turn. Is that going to be a Saturday night's main event kind of situation?
Well, we have one more Raw until Saturday night's main event, because Saturday night's main event is going to be right after, the day after Superman, the day after we see Superman, which I hope to talk about on the show. I hope we whether it's for 30 minutes, I definitely want to spotlight that movie, good or bad, because that is a movie that I'm excited for. I know you're excited for, and maybe we'll do a little review of Superman 2 before that movie comes out, just to talk about what we hope to see, maybe what we are looking forward to, and why we're looking forward to this movie more than Fantastic Four, Jurassic Park, or the fucking Smurfs movie. But then, anyways,
are we gonna review the Donner cut or just the original cut?
Whatever cut I could get my hands on, which I think I could get my hands on the Donner cut. So if you want to do the Donner cut, we could do the Donner cut. But yeah, that'll definitely be something that we could do next week.
This is between the Donner cut and the original.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
I'm really hoping that the new Superman is a good movie, because I've been waiting for one for decades.
Yeah, ever since Superman 2.
Yeah, Superman 3 was decent.
Okay.
Superman 3 was decent.
Not as good as Superman 4, Quest for Peace. Come on. I was going to mention it.
Thanks for joining us, folks. That's the last episode.
Oh, man. Yeah. But yeah, I have high hopes. I have high hopes for James Gunn's Superman film. I think it's going to be really good. I mean, we've seen his work with the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies, and I've seen more of his work with Slither, the movie Super. Fantastic movies. I think Super is a very underrated movie that a lot of people don't talk about when they bring up James Gunn. And if you watch that movie, I feel like you'd be like, all right, I think he could do a Superman movie.
What is Super?
So Super is kind of like Kick-Ass in the sense of it's this just everyday dude trying to be a superhero. And it's very wacky, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. It knows exactly what it is. And I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's a good movie. And
okay.
Yeah.
Say so.
Yeah. But
I just know of this Super, which was a 90s movie about a landlord of a hotel or a apartment building, I think. Oh,
okay.
Definitely not James Gunn. That's for sure.
All right. Yeah. Well,
but it was a pretty popular movie back then. I'm going to look it up right now to see who was actually, because it was a very popular movie over here in the States. It was 1991.
1991.
And, yeah. Joe Pesci. That's right.
Joe Pesci.
He's a slumlord. And
interesting.
It's pretty funny. So I've never watched it. Maybe I'll go watch it. Only because you brought up Super.
Okay. Interesting.
It's nothing to do with anything else we're talking about.
Nope. But hey, that's the beauty of us running out of things to talk about.
Honestly. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what happens on, SmackDown already happened. I saw some of the stuff that they did. Won't comment on it right now, but I'm more excited for Raw this coming Monday. And then, of course, Saturday night's main event.
All right. Yeah. We will definitely be talking about those things when all those are out and about. I will definitely tune into Saturday night's main event. I've been tuning into Raw on so far a 2-week basis. The streak is small, but it's still hot.
Yeah.
And yeah, just been enjoying it. Been enjoying actually finally watching these events to its entirety, instead of just sticking with the highlights as I've done in previous episodes. But yeah, so that's
Good
it.
stuff.
That's the Doyledin
that's it.
podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever your time zone may be, don't forget to stay Doyled in. See you guys in the next one.